The arrivals gate at Incheon Airport was alive with the usual rhythm of travelers dragging luggage, families embracing, and drivers waving placards high in the air. Vanessa Mensah tugged her carry-on behind her, her steps slowing as she scanned the crowd with a mixture of anticipation and nerves. It had been 8 months since she last set foot in Seoul, 8 months since she traded the messy, buzzing energy of the violent crimes unit for the structured pace of the International Task Force. Now she was back. Her eyes caught him before he spotted her. Detective Kim Sangwoo stood a few meters ahead, his tall frame anchored in the middle of the crowd, hands buried in the pockets of his jacket, his gaze sharp but restless, as if he'd been waiting longer than he would admit. Vanessa quickened her pace toward him. "You're late," she teased when she finally stopped in front of him, her voice warm but playful. "I was right on time," Sangwoo replied, raising a brow. "Really? No flowers? No banner that says, 'Pretty lady, welcome back to Seoul'? I was expecting at least a parade. Maybe even a marching band." She tilted her head with exaggerated disappointment. A soft laugh escaped him, the kind that started in his chest but never made it fully to his lips. "You're still full of impossible expectations. And you," she countered, poking him lightly in the arm, "still hopeless when it comes to greetings. Just get in the car before you demand fireworks." She smirked but followed him. Inside the car, the rhythm between them returned so easily it startled her. The city lights blurred by the window as she kept sneaking glances at him, realizing how natural it felt to be beside him again. The next morning, the precinct felt different the moment Vanessa stepped through the doors. Conversations hushed, then rose again with a burst of warmth. Smiles appeared, hands waved, and familiar voices called her name. "Vanessa, you're back," she laughed, raising a hand in modest greeting. "It's just a visit. Don't act like I've come to save Seoul." "Feels like you never left," another officer said, and she caught Sangwoo watching her from across the room, his expression unreadable. Though his eyes gave him away, they softened just slightly. The chief emerged from his office, clearing his throat as though masking his grin. "I hear a certain detective abandoned us for international glory. And now she decides to return." Vanessa straightened, hands clasped behind her back in a mock salute. "Only for a little while, Chief. Think of me as a guest star." The chief chuckled, then his voice firmed. "Guest or not, you're in my precinct, which means work. A case just landed, a robbery gone wrong. Civilian injured, possible gang ties. Sangwoo, Vanessa, you're on it." She exchanged a quick glance with Sangwoo. For a moment, it felt like the 8 months apart had vanished into thin air. The ride to the crime scene hummed with conversation. "You know," Vanessa said, leaning back against the seat, "I've missed this. The back and forth, the rush of a case. Even your, let's say, overly cautious driving." Sangwoo shot her a sideways look. "Overly cautious?" She grinned. "Yes. You drive like you're afraid the car might file a complaint against you." He shook his head, his mouth twitching. 8 months, and you still talk too much. 8 months, and you still pretend you don't like it." Their silence after that wasn't heavy. It carried the charge of familiarity, of a rhythm they both knew by heart. At the crime scene, yellow tape flapped in the breeze. A small convenience store stood with its front door shattered, glass scattered across the pavement. Inside, shelves were toppled, items strewn across the floor. Vanessa slipped on gloves, and Sangwoo did the same as the police officer briefed them. "Owner says 2 men stormed in just after midnight. Tried to rob the register. The cashier resisted, and he took a beating. He's in the hospital now." "Gang affiliated?" she asked, crouching to examine the floor near the register. "Could be. But something strange." Sangwoo crouched beside her, their shoulders nearly brushing. The register wasn't emptied. They left in a hurry. Which means they weren't here for cash. Vanessa frowned. Something else was the target. Their eyes met, unspoken agreement passing between them. The old synergy flickered to life instantly. Inside, Vanessa cataloged the damage while Sangwoo questioned witnesses. When they regrouped, their findings fell into place with familiar ease. The bustle of uniformed officers surrounded them, but for a moment, it felt like just the two of them again, partners in step, both professionally and otherwise. Vanessa broke the quiet first. "Feels like old times, doesn't it?" "Too much like old times," Sangwoo murmured. She glanced sideways at him, her voice light but edged with curiosity. "Careful. Sounds like you missed me." He didn't answer immediately. His eyes lingered on her, steady and unguarded. "Maybe I did." The weight of his words hung in the air between them, more honest than either of them expected. By the time they wrapped up at the scene, the sun had begun to set, painting the Seoul skyline in warm streaks of gold. Vanessa leaned against the car, folding her arms, her hair catching the light. You know, Sangwoo, she said, her tone teasing but softer than before. If every assignment feels like this, I might just extend my stay. He regarded her for a long moment before the faintest smile tugged at his mouth. Then maybe I'll finally remember to bring flowers. She laughed, the sound bright against the fading evening. Then she slipped into the passenger seat, the door closing with a quiet thud. As the car pulled away, the city stretching wide before them, the case no longer felt like just work. It felt like something more, like a doorway opening back onto the path they had once shared. Inside, the case board was already up, a few photos pinned in place. Vanessa leaned over the table, eyes sharp with focus, while Sangwoo stood across from her, watching. You've gotten sharper, he said suddenly, the words escaping before he thought them through. She looked up, brow arched. Sharper. He cleared his throat. More polished. You walk in and everyone listens. It is different from before. Vanessa smirked, a playful light in her eyes. Careful, detective. Are you saying I wasn't polished back then? That's not what he stopped, realizing the trap. She chuckled, shaking her head. Relax, Sangwoo. I know what you mean. 8 months abroad will do that to a person. I've had to stand my ground with people twice your size and 3 times your ego. Sangwoo huffed out a small laugh. Sounds about right. She tilted her head, studying him with a softness that cut through her teasing. But some things haven't changed. You still get that look when you're trying to piece everything together. And you still chew on your pen when you think no one's watching. His mouth twitched. You really notice everything, don't you? Always did. The weight of her words lingered, but before it could deepen, the chief's voice echoed from the hallway, assigning follow-up tasks for the night. Just like that, they slid back into the rhythm of work. Hours passed, the precinct thinning until only a handful of officers remained. Near midnight, Vanessa pushed back from her desk and stretched. Coffee? She asked, her eyes meeting Sangwoo's across the scattered files. Coffee, he agreed. They walked down the dimly lit street together, the quiet hum of the city a backdrop to their steps. The small cafe near the station greeted them with the smell of roasted beans and the low murmur of late-night patrons. Vanessa ordered her usual, black, no sugar, while Sangwoo stuck to his preference. Back outside, they sat beside one of the tables, their steaming cups in hand. For a while, they sipped in silence, the kind that didn't demand to be broken. You know what's funny? Vanessa said at last. What? Being back here feels natural, like slipping into old shoes. She smiled faintly. But at the same time, I know I can't stay. My assignment abroad, it's bigger than me now. Sangwoo looked at her, the words heavy on his tongue, but he only asked, Do you like it? Out there? She hesitated, swirling her cup before nodding. I do like it out there. It's challenging. I see things I never imagined I would. But sometimes, she trailed off, staring at the city lights in the distance. Sometimes I wish you could see what I see out there. He didn't reply. His gaze stayed fixed on her profile, the way the glow of the street lamp brushed across her face, the quiet strength in her voice. He wanted to tell her that Seoul wasn't the same without her, that his days had felt longer, his work duller, but the words lodged in his throat. Instead, he simply sipped his coffee, letting the thought linger between them like an unspoken truth. Vanessa noticed his silence and gave a small, knowing smile. It's okay. You don't have to say anything. He finally looked at her. I wasn't sure what to say. You've never been sure, she teased softly, nudging his arm. But that's part of your charm. They stayed there until their cups were empty, until the night had deepened into stillness. Back at the precinct, they fell into work again, and though they moved like they always had, handoffs smooth, instincts aligned, there was a new current beneath it all. The knowledge that this too had an end date. The following morning, Vanessa and Sangwoo made their way to the hospital. The sterile white halls buzzed with quiet footsteps and the faint hum of machines. The store owner, Mr. Park, lay propped up in his bed, his face bruised and his arm wrapped in a sling. He brightened slightly when he saw them enter. Detectives, he croaked, his voice hoarse but steady. Vanessa offered him a reassuring smile. Mr. Park, thank you for speaking with us. We know it isn't easy after what happened. He waved her words off with a weak chuckle. I've been running that shop for 20 years. I've dealt with rowdy kids, drunks, even a stray dog once. But this was different. These men weren't just thieves. They were looking for something. Vanessa leaned in, her voice steady. They wanted a package from you, didn't they? Mr. Park's eyes flickered, the memory clicking into place. He sat up slightly, wincing. Yes, the package. How could I forget? One of my customers, an elderly man, had left it with me. He asked me to hold on to it and deliver it later. What was inside? Sangwoo asked, his tone firm but calm. A vase, Mr. Park said after a pause. An antique. The old man said it was worth millions. I don't know how those men found out, but they came for it. Not the register. Not the cash. Just that package. Sangwoo nodded, his pen already moving across his notebook. So it wasn't a random robbery. They knew exactly what they were after. The vase. Vanessa's expression tightened as she exchanged a quick glance with him. Then she turned back to Mr. Park. We'll need more from you. Their faces. Details. Mr. Park furrowed his brow, closing his eyes as he dredged up the memory. One was tall, maybe in his 30s, with a jagged scar running down his left cheek. He wore a dark hoodie. The other, stockier, was cut younger. He had a tattoo on his hand, a snake curling around his thumb. Sangwoo flipped the page and began sketching quickly, his strokes confident and precise. His years of training showed. Within minutes, rough but clear profiles of the two suspects emerged on the paper. He turned the pad toward Mr. Park. Like this? Mr. Park blinked, then nodded firmly. Yes, that's them. Exactly. Vanessa exhaled, a flicker of relief crossing her features. Good. That's enough to get us moving. Sangwoo tore the page from his pad, folded it, and slipped it into his folder. Then he met Mr. Park's eyes. You've helped us a lot. Rest now, we'll take it from here. Mr. Park sank back into the bed, guilt flickering across his bruised face. I never thought holding a package could cause all this trouble. Vanessa softened her tone. You couldn't have known. But now we know what they were after. As they stepped out of the hospital room, Sangwoo folded his arms, his gaze narrowing with focus. No masterminds. No bigger picture. Just two men who saw a chance to make millions off a vase. Vanessa gave a small nod, her voice low. And they were willing to kill for it. The weight of her words hung between them as they walked down the corridor, both knowing their next step was clear. Back at the precinct, the sketches came together quickly. Within hours, profiles of the two men were pinned to the caseboard, their faces staring back at them in black ink. Sangwoo crossed his arms, studying the board. Names are still unknown, but these aren't first-time offenders. Someone's seen them before. Agreed, Vanessa said, turning to the younger officers at their desks. Run these through every database, street cams, gang affiliation records, even probation lists. I want hits. The room buzzed with renewed energy. Phones rang, keyboards clattered. Within minutes a shout came from across the room. Detective, we've got a match. Everyone's eyes turned to the monitor. The taller man with the scar lit up in the system. Young Daeho. Known gang runner, multiple arrests for assault, suspected ties to smuggling. Moments later, the second face pulled up as well. Choi Min-jae. Small-time thief, recently released, known to work under Daeho. Where are they now? Sangwoo asked sharply. Last ping was near Mapo District, the officer replied. An old warehouse, place they've been using as a hideout. Without hesitation, Sangwoo grabbed his coat. Let's move. The drive was taut with urgency. By the time they reached Mapo, the sun hung high, casting sharp shadows against the cracked concrete of the abandoned warehouse. A tactical unit was already on standby, waiting for Sangwoo's command. Daeho and Min-jae are dangerous, Sangwoo briefed quietly, his voice steady but firm. We go in clean, no risks. Vanessa adjusted her vest, her eyes scanning the warehouse. They've already shown they're reckless. Let's end this before anyone else gets hurt. The team moved in, the crunch of boots muffled against gravel. At Sangwoo's signal, the doors were breached. Shouts rang out, police! Hands where we can see them. Inside, chaos erupted. Daeho and Min-jae bolted, knocking over crates in their scramble. Vanessa gave chase, her pulse pounding as she cut down the side corridor. Stop! She shouted, her footsteps echoing. Min-jae turned sharply, lunging at her with a wild swing. She ducked, slamming her shoulder into him, sending him sprawling. In seconds, she had him cuffed, her breath ragged but steady. Across the warehouse, Sangwoo cornered Daeho. The taller man swung a metal pipe, the blow glancing off Sangwoo's arm. Pain flared, but Sangwoo's grip was unyielding. He twisted, disarming Daeho before slamming him against the wall with controlled force. Game's over, Sangwoo growled, snapping the cuffs into place. By the time the unit regrouped, both men were restrained, their faces twisted with defiance. Vanessa wiped a strand of hair from her face, meeting Sangwoo's eyes across the room. The same unspoken connection hummed between them, stronger than ever. Back at the precinct, the chief clapped a hand on Sangwoo's shoulder. Good work, both of you. Fast, clean, effective. Vanessa smiled, then placed her arm around his shoulder and faintly said, just like old times. Sangwoo didn't answer, but his gaze lingered on her longer than it should have, his silence carrying more than words could. 2 weeks had passed since Vanessa's return and the solving of the convenience store case. The precinct had almost grown used to her presence again. Almost. Every morning when she walked in, the room seemed to brighten, as though the 8 months apart had only been a long pause. Sangwoo still caught himself glancing at her desk more often than he should, noticing the small things. The way she tucked her hair back when she focused on a report, the way she tapped her pen when deep in thought. She was more commanding now, more polished, but she still teased him mercilessly. "You're staring again," she said one afternoon without looking up from her file. "I wasn't," Sangwoo replied too quickly. "You were." Her lips twitched into a smirk. "But don't worry, I don't charge for it." He shook his head, hiding the smile that threatened to form. Same Vanessa, yet different. But the comfort of their rhythm didn't last long. It began with a call from the intelligence department. The chief summoned them into the briefing room, his face unusually tense. A large screen flickered to life, showing grainy satellite images of shipping containers at Incheon port. A stern voice came through the speaker, an international contact Vanessa knew well. It was the chief of the International Task Force. "The Ghost Syndicate," the voice said, "a ruthless network smuggling biochemical weapons, has rerouted a shipment through Seoul. They're using your port as a transit point." The room went still. Vanessa's shoulders straightened, her tone clipped and professional. "Are we certain?" "Yes. The container is already inbound. Seoul is the transfer hub. If we miss this, it moves to another country." Sangwoo's brows furrowed. "Why Seoul?" "They're exploiting the underground networks there," the voice replied. "Detective Kim, your unit knows those channels better than anyone. Which is why, starting now, your unit will collaborate with Vanessa's task force team." The door opened and Vanessa's international colleagues walked in. Men and women in tactical gear, serious and sharp-eyed. Her team leader, a tall man with streaks of gray in his hair, nodded towards Sangwoo. "So this is Detective Kim. We've heard about you." Sangwoo returned the nod, his expression unreadable. "I'll take that as a good thing." Vanessa caught the exchange and grinned faintly. "Play nice, boys." The joint operation began immediately. Sangwoo and Vanessa worked side by side, interrogating an informant in a cramped warehouse office. "You think the ghosts are really moving something this big through Seoul?" Sangwoo asked quietly as the informant squirmed under Vanessa's sharp questions. "They don't make mistakes," she murmured back. "If they chose Seoul, they have someone here making it easy." The informant finally cracked, whispering about a hidden container buried among hundreds at the docks. Hours later, the task force and Sangwoo's unit converged at Incheon port. The night was damp, fog curling over the stacked containers like a shroud. Vanessa's breath misted as she moved in formation with her team, Sangwoo close by. "There," she whispered, pointing to a container half buried in the third row. "That's the one." They moved fast, flashlights cutting through the dark. The lock was broken, the door creaking as it swung open. Inside were crates, unmarked but sealed tight. Sangwoo's hand tightened on his weapon. "Biochemical material?" he asked. "Most likely," Vanessa confirmed grimly. "We'll need hazmat to secure it." But before they could call it in, shadows erupted from between the containers. Gunfire split the night. "Ambush!" someone shouted. The ghosts had been waiting. Bullets sparked against steel, and the team dove for cover. Sangwoo pressed Vanessa back behind a crate as shots whistled past. "You okay?" he shouted over the chaos. "Fine." "Go left," she yelled, already moving. They split. Sangwoo advanced with calm precision, every shot deliberate, every movement steady. Vanessa darted through the maze of containers, fearless, flanking the attackers and forcing them into the open. One ghost lunged at Sangwoo with a knife. Sangwoo disarmed him in a swift, brutal motion. Another raised a rifle at Vanessa, but she ducked low, rolled, and fired back, dropping him before he could pull the trigger. The firefight stretched on, but slowly the tide turned. The ghosts began to retreat, scattering into the shadows. "Don't let them escape," Vanessa's leader barked. Sangwoo spotted one courier sprinting for the exit, clutching something in his jacket. He chased him down, tackling him hard onto the concrete. The courier fought viciously, but Sangwoo pinned him, wrenching the phone from his grasp. "Got him!" Sangwoo shouted, hauling the man upright. When the dust finally settled, the yard was littered with spent casings and groaning bodies. The team regrouped, breathless, battered but alive. Vanessa wiped a streak of dirt from her cheek and glanced at Sangwoo, her chest still heaving. "Not bad, Detective. Not bad at all." He gave a rare grin, adrenaline still burning through his veins. "You weren't too bad yourself." Her leader approached, clapping Sangwoo on the shoulder. "You kept your cool out there. Without your precision, we'd have lost control of the port." That steadiness is exactly what we value in the task force. Sangwoo said nothing, but Vanessa caught the flicker in his eyes, a mix of pride and disbelief. The courier was dragged into custody, his encrypted phone bagged as evidence. Back at the precinct, analysts worked furiously to break into it. Hours later, the screen finally cracked open, lines of data scrolling fast. The discovery was chilling. Seoul was only one stop. The Ghost Syndicate had operations spanning continents. Seoul was just one link in a vast, coordinated chain. "This is bigger than we thought," Vanessa murmured, scanning the files. Her leader nodded gravely. "And now we know, we'll need Seoul's best if we want to dismantle this." His gaze shifted to Sangwoo. "You've proven yourself. You're not just valuable here. You could be an asset globally." The room went quiet. Sangwoo met Vanessa's eyes, surprise flashing in his. She only gave him a small smile, equal parts encouragement and challenge. "Looks like they're starting to see what I've always known," she said softly. Sangwoo didn't reply, but deep down he knew it was the truth. 2 nights had passed since the task force's strike at the shipping yard, but the city had not slowed. Reports piled in, evidence had to be processed, and long hours blurred into longer ones. Sangwoo had barely left the precinct, yet every time he did, his eyes strayed to the glass doors, half expecting Vanessa to stride through with her brisk confidence. It was late evening when she finally found him. He sat at his desk, jacket draped over the back of his chair, sleeves rolled up, pen tapping absently against a case file. His shoulders tensed when her shadow fell across his papers. "You always look like the world is sitting on your desk," Vanessa teased, slipping into the chair opposite him. He didn't look up immediately. "That's because it usually is." Her lips curved faintly, but her eyes carried weight tonight. "I have news. Big news." That pulled his gaze up. His brow furrowed. "Good or bad?" She leaned forward, lowering her voice as if the walls themselves might listen. An envelope slid onto the desk between them. "My leader called me in today. After what happened at the port, after seeing how you handled yourself." She hesitated only a second before finishing. "Sangwoo, they want you. The task force wants to recruit you. This," she tapped the envelope, "is your official appointment letter." For a moment, the station seemed to still. The hum of computers, shuffling papers, ringing phones. All of it receded beneath the gravity of her words. "Me?" His voice was low, disbelieving. "Yes. You." Her tone was steady, though her eyes shone with pride. He was impressed. More than impressed. "He sees in you what I see." Sangwoo leaned back, exhaling slowly. His pen slipped from his fingers, clattering onto the desk. "Vanessa, do you know what you're saying? My whole life is here. My family, my team, my city. You're asking me to walk away from all of that." She shook her head. "No, I'm not asking you to leave. I'm asking you to come with me." He stared at her, caught between frustration and something more fragile. "It's the same thing." "No, it isn't." Her voice softened. "Leaving is abandoning what you love. Coming with me is expanding it. Think about what you did at the port. How fast you adapted, how many lives you saved. You're wasted behind a single desk in Seoul." He dragged a hand through his hair, a rare crack in his calm facade. "You make it sound simple. But I have roots here. My father's grave is here. My team depends on me. Seoul is my home. If I walk away, what does that make me?" Her expression gentled. She reached across the desk, her fingers brushing his hand. "It makes you someone brave enough to go where you're needed most. Brave enough to step into something bigger than one city." His eyes dropped to her touch. The warmth disarmed him, grounding him, even as his chest tightened. "Vanessa," he said quietly, "what if I go and lose myself in their world? What if I can't be who I am anymore?" "You'll always be who you are," she replied without hesitation. Silence lingered. The air between them hummed with something unspoken. Finally, he stood, pacing slowly across the narrow aisle. "You're asking me to choose between 2 lives. The one I've built, and the one I don't understand yet." She rose too, steady and unwavering. "No, I'm asking you to see that maybe those 2 lives don't have to be separate. You're already standing in the doorway, Sangwoo. All I'm asking is that you step through it, with me." He stopped, and then he looked back at her. The tension stretched, heavy with unspoken truths. Then he turned, eyes shadowed with conflict yet lit by a flicker of something else, something almost like surrender. "You really believe I belong with you in this fight?" Vanessa's lips curved faintly, though her eyes glistened. "I don't just believe it. I know it." His chest rose and fell as though carrying the weight of the world. When he finally nodded, it was small, almost imperceptible. A step, not a leap. A possibility, not a promise. She closed the space between them, her voice a whisper. Then think about it. No pressure. Just know the offer is real. And so am I. The station lights flickered as the night shift settled in. And though Sangwoo said nothing more, as he watched Vanessa walk away, he knew the choice she had placed in his hands was not one he could run from forever. 3 days before Vanessa was set to leave Seoul, she called Sangwoo out for dinner. It wasn't a crowded place, just a quiet rooftop restaurant overlooking the river. The kind of view that made the city lights look like scattered stars. Sangwoo sat across from her, suspicion in his smile. You didn't drag me all the way here just for grilled meat, did you? Vanessa chuckled, her eyes soft. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. You'll see. For a while, they ate in silence, the air charged with something unspoken. Then Vanessa set her chopsticks down and leaned back, her voice lowering. When I was in America on those missions, I pushed myself harder than I needed to. Finished faster, worked longer. Do you know why? Sangwoo tilted his head. Why? So I could come back to Seoul. To you. The words hit harder than any bullet. He blinked, caught off guard, as Vanessa's lips curved into a nervous smile. I owe like you, Sangwoo. More than I thought I would. You calm me in ways I didn't know I needed. You make me feel, her voice faltered as she searched his face, like I've found home again, no matter where I am. Before he could answer, she leaned forward and kissed him. Quick, sure, disarming. When she drew back, breathless, she whispered, Don't answer now. Just think about it. Vanessa. She shook her head, standing. No, don't say anything yet. Just promise me one thing. His chest tightened. What? Promise you won't forget this moment. I won't. She smiled, voice trembling. Goodbye, Sangwoo. At dawn, she was gone. Sangwoo had stood by her apartment building, watching the taxi take her to the airport, his heart unsettled. He had never hesitated in the face of danger, yet here he was, shaken by 3 little words. For days he thought of her. Her laugh when she was nervous, the steadiness she carried into every storm, the kiss he couldn't stop replaying. By the 3rd night he knew. She completed him. The next morning, the chief called him in. The older man studied him with knowing eyes. You've made up your mind, haven't you? Sangwoo exhaled slowly. Yes. But I don't want to let my team here down. They've been family. The chief leaned back, arms folding. Sangwoo, when you weren't here, the station still stood. Cases were solved. Life carried on. It'll be the same now. Nothing will fall apart because you follow a different path. But you'll always be one of us, the chief cut in gently. Come back anytime. Share a drink. But don't chain yourself here out of guilt. Go where you're meant to be. Sangwoo lowered his gaze, then nodded. You're right. Thank you for understanding. A week later, Sangwoo walked the bustling halls of the International Task Force headquarters in America. His heart pounded, not with nerves but with anticipation. He found Vanessa in the operations room, bent over documents. She looked up as his voice broke through the din. Recruit Kim Sangwoo. Reporting for duty. Straight from Seoul. Fresh blood for the unit. She froze, eyes widening. Sangwoo. He grinned. Did you really think I'd let you run missions without me? He stepped closer, lowering his voice. And just so it's clear, I'm not here to be any recruit. I'm here to be your partner. On the job, and in life. Her laughter burst out, unrestrained. She threw her arms around him, hugging him so tightly he almost lost his breath. You idiot, she whispered into his shoulder. I can't believe you actually came. One of her teammates strolled by with a smirk. Finally. She's been impossible these past weeks, always glued to her phone like a teenager. Hey, Vanessa protested, smacking him on the arm, her cheeks flushed. Sangwoo chuckled. Good to know I wasn't the only one. Laughter and greetings filled the room as the rest of the team gathered. For the first time in weeks, Sangwoo felt whole again. The next morning, he and Vanessa boarded a helicopter for their first assignment as permanent partners. She sat with her arms crossed, smirking. Ready to keep up with me? Sangwoo buckled his harness, calm smile steady. Always, the blades roared to life, carrying them into the sky, together.